We're going to do a little exercise today. We're going to do a little exercise today. Because this is what happens. Folks, I feel like want to be heard. I really do believe that. I really do believe that folks want to be heard. But the thing is that we are in a time and an era where communication is like not a thing. People don't even know how to communicate, right? So in wanting to be heard, it's almost as though people think like the best way to do that is to simply just be shitty. Like they feel like, you know, the only way that they're going to get to be heard is to attack, or to like shit on somebody, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, I get people that come in my comments or whatever, and who are upset about, you know, things that I've said, and they'll be like, okay, you know, you're spreading wrong information. It's like, we don't even have communication skills anymore, because I feel like people don't understand, like, there's a difference between like you disagree with me and me spreading wrong information, right? There's a disagreement with you not understanding my point and me spreading wrong information. So like, even in the case of Rodney Reed, it's like some people think he's innocent. So they think that if you don't think he's innocent, that you're spreading wrong information. Or that if you call to question, like, I'm not really sure with the information that's provided that I can concretely feel like this person is innocent, you're spreading wrong information. And it's like, nah, which is why I'm constantly addressing nuance. Like saying, this is information that I've gathered. Has been presented. It was not presented before. That is not spreading wrong information. It's not. Saying I would have liked to have had this as a top line in the presenting of an issue is not spreading wrong information. Now, I think something that we do have to acknowledge is that everyone presents things differently. You know, like I'm just the type of person where like I try to present things with the whole overview, and you rarely see me like advocating for like a specific behind like a specific individual, because I just feel like a lot of times it's like unless you are really in the weeds with that scenario, like it's hard to necessarily advocate for a specific individual. But I do advocate for, you know, especially like for the raising of money for experiences and for young people and for education and for reform and all of these types of things, you know, because I think at the end of the day, especially when it's something that can affect a multitude of individuals and that has like an extensive, what's the word I'm looking for? Reach. It's like, yes, like that's community building, right? So I don't see the value in going to attack individuals. Like I've never gone on the internet and like gone into someone's DMs or comments, and like just felt the need to just admonish them. I can name one person, Jonathan Capehart, and I talk about it in my book. I talk about it in my book because he was trying to say that hands up, don't shoot is false because Mike Brown didn't have his hands up. And it was just like, were you there? What are you talking about? But it's in my book, Small Doses. Anywho, my point is this. You know, for those of you who be saying like, oh, you're doing shit for clout chasing. I'm like, for what clout? What clout do I get from saying any of this shit? Like, it doesn't get me money. It doesn't get me a job. It sure as hell doesn't get me peace. So what clout do I gain? You know, for those of you who say like, oh, like you're not really about the people. If you think I'm not for the people, then that means you haven't done your research on me. So I don't take any of that in. I do, however, think it is important to acknowledge though, that for what it's worth, a lot of people felt the same way that I felt. And it's not about it being Amanda spreading misinformation. it's really about the fact that like everybody enters different situations different ways. So some of you may have known about this a long time ago. Some of you may have only known about it 3 weeks ago. Some of you may have gotten it from one source. Some of you may have gotten it from a source that was passed down. Also, in terms of research, like, you know, there's different levels of research. There's different ability to have time to fully research. And depending on where you enter something depending on where you enter something in its development will oftentimes determine the top line of information that's available to you. Now, I know y'all are in my comment. I can see y'all just in here just going hard. Misinformation spreader, blah, 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 blah. But the truth of the matter is I'm not a misinformation spreader. I'm literally the exact opposite. Literally. But since y'all want to do this, look at this. This is so interesting. The irony of this is that I did a video where I said, I apologize. I did not research this as thoroughly as I needed to. I think that it's so scary when I see the comments that people say, because I wonder, like, how do you say that you don't, how do y'all justify like going off of what someone else said without doing, like, without knowing even the impetus for why they say things and then just going for folks? I've never understood this concept. But anywho, let's see. So my point in this is that the truth of the matter is the death penalty is a real topic of debate, you know, and folks have a lot to stand on with that, because the truth of the matter is that there's very real realities about why people agree with it and why people don't agree with it. And then there's very like basic bottom line principles, right? So it's like someone should not be executed if they did not do a crime. Easy. Then there's the concept of someone should not be executed if there is a shadow of a doubt that they didn't do the crime. Okay. But the thing is that I think a lot of people felt uncomfortable because the shadows of doubt associated with this particular case seem like they can be influenced by other things that happened. And I think that's why a lot of people felt the same way I did. So anywho, let's see. I love how all of y'all are in here just mad. You see what I'm doing, right? I'm here drinking apple juice. I don't call myself an activist because I think that's a very particular term. I'm an artist. But y'all love to say things. So let's just see. Since y'all love to talk all of this shit, let's just see. Let's see. What y'all gonna say? I'm fully open.
Hey, Amanda.
How are you doing? How do you pronounce your name?
I'm good. Sharifa.
Sharifa. Oh, you have it. It's backwards?
It's backwards, yeah. You
Hello,
probably read it like
Sharifa.
a fire high school. Oh, God.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. What made you want to be on the live today?
So I saw your post yesterday, your Instagram TV post on a friend's Instagram, and it intrigued me to read furthermore in Rodney Reed's case. And for one, I support what you're trying to defend only for the simple fact that there was a pattern in the case that allowed me to believe, you know what, maybe he shouldn't get the death penalty, but some more time should be added to his charge, because no way in hell are you going to sit there and have your own baby moms, because I read it in the story. It said, you know, the mother of his children even sat on that podium and said he raped her. And then the part that alarmed me was the fact that the pattern was of the anal raping, you know. So when I read that and I see what you're trying to say, everybody's misconceiving what you're saying only because, you know, we go so hard for Black rights and, you know, rightful criminal justice for us. But I don't understand why people's pride is so high when it comes time to admit that, you know, they wrongfully took the side of someone, you know, they shouldn't have took the side of.
I think honestly though, I think it's not even necessarily about like, because I know my point wasn't necessarily saying like somebody wrongfully took the side of. It was more so just like I felt like I had been, and I felt like just like a lot of people felt, which is that we had kind of been like slanted in a direction,
right,
by the information that was kind of like top line provided, and
right,
that maybe had we known a little bit more, we may not have lended ourselves, our voices, our time to supporting in the same way.
Right. And I feel like instead of bashing you, everyone should at least give you a chance to be like, you know what? Let me take a little minute out of my time and go on Google, because Google is a worldwide web. It's a strong search engine. Let me just go there and see what Amanda is talking about. Let me feel her out for a bit, instead of assuming that you're trying to, what they say, promote your book or swearing you know it all. Like, these people sound so absurd. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But I commend you, my love. Like, you're smart, you're beautiful, and I'm with you on it.
Oh wow. Well, yeah. You know, when I pressed for the person to approve, I had no idea that it was going to be you. So thank you very much, Teresa.
No problem.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate your support. Have a good one, baby.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Let's see. See what Willie Jones got to say.
Hello?
Hello, Willie Jones.
Hey, Amanda Seals, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today, baby? I should not be eating this shrimp. It's going to fuck me up. Oh, Willie Jones is in an area.
Wait.
Sorry, your service was sketchy.
Oh, it was being sketchy. Hell yeah, how you doing, been? How's your day going?
My day is going so far so good. How's your day?
So far so good. You know what I'm saying? Woke up, made some breakfast. I don't, man. I don't have any change on you, though. No, some real shit. I really don't. All right, G.
Where are you?
This dude asked me for a quarter, and I really don't have no change on me.
But then he told you was full of shit?
He told me I was full of shit. I was like, my bad.
What city is that?
I'm in LA.
Oh wow. Well, I'm not. I've never had anyone tell me I was full of shit. Well, what made you want to?
I'm full of shit for real.
What made you want to come on the live today?
I just saw you. I literally saw you went live, and I saw you was on there with somebody. I was like, I'm gonna request to see if I can holler at my girl. But I don't have the book yet. But I literally said I'm gonna get it this week, and I'm excited. My friend Jalen, she actually put me on to. She always used to watch your story, like she still does all the time.
Hey,
She put me on small doses, and I check them out and just like really just listen. I really just listen and take what you say, and like it makes me like step back and be like, okay, am I being problematic, or I don't know. I feel like it just helps me take a look at myself and want to grow, and it's dope. And congratulations on the book and all of that stuff.
Thank you, Willie Jones. Now we are in the middle of a very intense conversation.
Oh, what's y'all talking
about? Thank you for checking in.
My bad.
I was trying to get a brother on because I'm trying to make sure that I'm being conscious about the the representation being brought up on the live.
No, for
But
sure.
feel free to continue to check out the live to see what we're talking about.
Will do.
All right. Thank you. And thank you for supporting the book.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Now y'all like, fuck it, we going in. Okay, so this is a young woman who misconstrued something I said, but nonetheless, I think she's a law student. I think I recall you in my DMs being a law student. So you said something yesterday where you were like, no, Amanda, it wasn't that they didn't give you all the information. It was that they said, I think I'm paraphrasing, but you said something to the effect of like, you felt that I had misworded. You felt that I had misworded something. So you said, I feel like you said you were a law student. Is that true?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
I'm a law student.
So please take the floor.
All right. So I don't think you misconstrued what they said. I think that like you're really busy. A lot of us are really busy. So when you said, "Oh, we didn't do our research," I think that you kind of like jumped to the conclusion that
I said
the people.
I didn't do my research.
No. I know you didn't. I didn't do it either on this one. I've done it multiple times on many things, but I didn't do it on this one. So you said you didn't do your research, and a lot of people like me, like you, probably didn't do it. But when we see names like the Innocence Project, I won't say Shaun King because like he's just one individual, but when we see the Innocence Project and the ACLU, we need to realize that they do a lot of research.
Right.
A lot of time and attention goes into their cases. I was just at a charity event for them about a month ago, and literally it's tears from the beginning to the end. There's laughs and stuff in between, but the families who are involved in these cases, the lawyers who work on them for years are there at these events trying to raise money so that we could do research for these people. And so when you say, "Oh my gosh, they didn't tell us the information," it's there. Is there. We have to like trust and believe that we built up these organizations. We sponsored them. You know, at some point, I gave money, time, and attention to them. You probably gave money, time, and attention to them too, but maybe you didn't even know. You know what I mean? Maybe you didn't even know you supported those organizations. So we have to realize that they have a system. You know what I mean? There's tons of organizations that we cannot trust, period. We can't trust. But the Innocent Projects, the ACLU, I get so worried when they become attacked because they start from the bottom. They are nonprofit organizations that start from, they do. I met the owner or the founder when I was there, and like literally started to walk used to walk hundreds of miles just so they could raise money and do marathons so they could raise money to fund this project. And so it's like, we have to be careful when we attack organizations like that. They've gotten a lot bigger since Trump came into play, since like since people realize, okay, we need to fund these small organizations so that they can fight against, you know, Trump and against the terrible criminal justice system. So like, we just got to be careful with attacking the ACLU and the
I think we have to be careful with using the word attack.
Okay.
I think we have to be careful with using the word attack. I think that we as the people who are supporting these organizations have every right to point out when we feel like something hasn't been presented to us in a way that we would have felt more comfortable. I think that especially also because like just as much as these organizations do work for the people, like the people are also providing the funding for these organizations. And I think that it's really true and fair to say that nobody is infallible, including organizations, right? And I think it's also something to be said that as much as we get a lot of help and support from these organizations, know this though, that like there's also the truth of like there's policy and there's political things that go on, and then there's kind of like bigger picture things a lot of times that are happening that I think sometimes are are beyond the scope of like how we're entering the conversation sometimes, right? So I think for me in this scenario in particular, I was never, well, I gotta tell you, I do take umbrage at feeling that I attacked a specific organization when I didn't say anyone's name. I didn't say anyone's name or any organization's name, because I think that for a lot of people, like, their entryway into this topic was by varied means, right? Like, I mean, I think people assume that I learned about this from Shaun King, and that's not how I learned about it. So I think even he assumed that, but that's not how I learned about it. So that's why I didn't say his name, because I'm speaking in general to the fact that, like, we do live in a world now where we're getting information from a lot of sources that may not necessarily be vetted. I think it's very valid to point out that, you know, places like the ACLU and the Innocence Project, the reason why they continue to stay afloat and stay moving and stay working is because, for the most part, the information that they're giving is vetted, right?
Yes.
It's vetted, you know. But I think that something that always just kind of has to remain is that not everyone vets everything based on the same standards of judgment. Right? So, like, so for instance, for the Innocence Project, correct me if I'm wrong, but they are very dedicated. Excuse me, I'm sorry. They're very dedicated to cases in relation to the death penalty and people who are on the death penalty that are innocent. Is that correct?
No. So
okay, so tell me more about what cases they in particularly are dedicated to.
They are dedicated to cases where they can say that the person is innocent. So it doesn't matter if they are on the death penalty or not.
It's just that there's proof and it's not being acknowledged.
Exactly, that they are innocent. So, I mean, there's people who have been in for 10 years and then they get out and they still have, they have the crime on their rap sheet or whatever. They will work on their case too.
Is the Innocence, because you've done a lot of research on the Innocence Project, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is the innocence that they are specifically dedicated to, like, the person's innocence in a particular case, or is it their innocence across the board in all cases?
It's one particular case. They only work on the one part. So what happens is these people who are in jail send them letters and send them case files and everything, and they'll say, look at all of this information. There was never a DNA test done. There wasn't evidence, blah, blah, blah. And the Innocence Project will pick up the case, and they won't pick it up fully. They'll just look at all the information and do background research. Once they've done all their background research and find out that that person is more than likely, 95% chance that they are innocent, then they pick up the case. So that could be like a whole year or 2 years before they decide to pick up a case.
But it's one specific case.
And it's one specific case. It's not the whole person's entire, like, criminal background or criminal history. It's just...
So, okay. So that being said, in this case, they're only, and I know that I keep being repetitive because I just want to make sure that I'm understanding. So in this case, they're only focusing on, in terms of Rodney Stites, in terms of Rodney Reed, they're only focused on his innocence in the case of Stacey Stites.
Yes, they're only focused on the one that he is on the death penalty for. That's the one that they picked up. But the other cases were never taken to trial.
One of them was.
Well, one of them was.
The one in Wichita Falls, Texas, was taken to trial.
And he was found innocent. On that case.
But it was taken to trial for the rape and murder of a white woman in Wichita Falls, Texas.
Yes, but they wouldn't use that case. They might take background information from the case and everything, but what the underlying issue is what's happening in Miss Stites' case.
Right.
They're not looking at the other people's issues.
Now there were other women's cases that were not taken to trial because he was already on the death penalty, correct?
Yes. Because they weren't taken to trial because they weren't brought up until after sentencing was about to start. And I'm taking that directly from Shaun King's message that he recently did. So
there was evidence. So there was evidence found. There was DNA evidence found that matched him to those rapes, but it wasn't brought up until the sentencing was beginning.
yes, but the problem is that there's a lot of controversy with the evidence. People are saying it's contaminated, and that happens.
The evidence with the other rapes is contaminated?
Yes, when a case is 18
No, with
years.
the other rapes.
With the other rapes, they are saying that the evidence was contaminated and that the evidence just kind of came about like after he was already on trial. It wasn't even, in the picture before trial, before the incident happened. So
And so
it's
the
hard.
two women who ID'd him as their rapist,
Mm-hmm.
have they? Because in what I read,
They need to have their own trial. At the end of the day, everybody needs to have their own trial. Like a rape isn't like a class action. You can't bring it all together. You can't put it all together. He could be, and it breaks my heart to say this, but he could be guilty on those other cases. You know what I mean? But you can't put someone to death for possible guilt in other cases. You have to give them a fair shot at every
I think that's
single.
fair. I think that's absolutely fair. I agree with you. Like,
Yeah.
the concept of the death penalty is already just a flawed concept by nature, right?
Yeah.
Especially in a state that doesn't care about Black people, in general.
Texas.
Like Texas,
I got hella stories for Texas, but I ain't even gonna start. Right. I don't want to come to like attack or say you were wrong. Like as soon as I saw your video,
commentary in my DMs was from an intellectual place, and
mm-hmm.
you were coming from your point of view, which
mm-hmm.
I will always respect. I will always respect someone saying, Amanda, I respectfully disagree with you for this reason.
Right. Thank you.
Like, that's why I chose.
Yeah.
That's why when I saw you on the live, I said, I want to talk to her. Because this is somebody who clearly is coming from an intellectual standpoint, who has footing to stand on. I want to hear what she has to say.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I want us all to band together a little bit better, because like now I'm seeing Shaun King seems like he's upset with you, and I don't know if you're upset with him. I want y'all to be able to say.
I think it's better if you haven't been addressed directly, to not necessarily address someone else directly, or at least to clarify first, were you addressing me? I think that's a better course of action before pulling someone into the flames. I've definitely done that in the past and learned that wasn't the best way to handle something. I think also, like, when we look at just like change and movements and revolution, like, so often we've seen them falter and fail because of what were you gonna say?
It's because we got conflict. That's how the Black Panthers,
inner conflict. That's how exactly. That's how the Black Panthers,
exactly how they fail.
They insert the inner conflict. But what I will say is this, and I think this is the thing that a lot of people who are so irate are not really acknowledging. And the fact that what they're not really acknowledging is that we all have like our own points of view on things, and we enter those points of views from different ways. Like, some people might be irate because they have a family member on death row that they feel shouldn't be on death row, because they're personally connected to that, Some people might be irate simply because it's just a passionate issue that they're really about. Some people might be irate because they really, really, truly, like, love Shaun King, or love whoever or the Innocence Project, or they love,
straight trolls. So that's another one.
So there's that, so it's like, I think though that we have to respectfully be able to say, like, we have to be able to respectfully acknowledge, like, when people are like simply just questioning a status quo or attempting to gain information, versus when people are simply just trying to troll. I know for me, I'm like, it's trippy to me when people think I'm trying to troll, because I'm like,
you have no purpose to troll. Like, you have your own platforms where you can totally put out whatever message you want. You don't need to troll on this and troll on that just to get your message out. So, I mean, I think the general consensus is that Amanda is looking for specific information and she's trying to
I really am.
delve deeper into stuff. And I get that. Like,
I appreciate you bringing information, by the way, not to cut you off.
Yes, I really just hope that the thousands of your followers that saw what you said and just kind of took it as, oh, we shouldn't trust the Innocence Project. I hope they do their research. I hope they look at the Innocence Project. And I know, like, when they do look into it, they're going to fall more in love with it. They're going to be like, okay, cool. Like, this is a place where we can get our information. And next time, instead of looking at memes, gifs, and straight up petitions, they will go to the Innocence Project's, like, website. They'll just go to the actual website and be like, okay, what is this case about? Let me sign a petition on their actual website, or let me walk into their office. One of the Innocence Project's offices out here in California is located at California Western School of Law. You can walk in there, you can talk to the attorneys. They might be hella busy, but they will take the time, and they're super passionate about what they do. They will take the time to talk to people about their cases, as much information as they can get without the confidentiality issues. But, you know, like, the information is out there, and I hope that people don't just like run to the conclusion that we got bamboozled, because we didn't. Like, this time we didn't. We might in the future. I hope that we don't.
I think it's not fair to say that, though. I think that depending on where you got your information from, depending on how you entered into this conversation, you may feel like you were swayed in the way that it was presented to you. Because I think that there's something to be said just specifically about the Innocence Project, because the way that they're working is they're speaking on just this case.
That's just this
right
case.
And so that is what they're about, right? That's what they're about. They're just speaking on just this case. But I know for me, I'm not the Innocence Project. That's not my angle. For me, as Amanda, a whole picture is going to be, I want the whole picture. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
everything.
That's my, because like that's not my directive. Like, I'm not the Innocence Project. I'm a civilian who is lending my support to the conversation. Yes. And so for me, it's like, okay, well, I felt like I was being presented this one case and I did not have any inclination that there were other cases that would have made me give pause to how I would have supported this. Now, I may not have impeded it, right? Like, I'm not going to be writing letters like, kill this nigga. Like, never. You know what I mean? Like, never, ever, ever, ever. I'm not, right. You know, like that's not what I would be doing. However, I may not have been so forthright in like sharing my platform and encouraging people and, you know, voicing. And if you see, like, I shared a lot of content on my platform about this case, and none of these other cases were included in any of that content. So that's where I'm coming. So that's where I'm coming from. Like, because it's what it is like, it's, again, my favorite word, nuance. Because it doesn't make what the Innocence Project did. It doesn't make the Innocence Project wrong. They're doing how they do. But the people who are sharing what the Innocence Project is doing are only sharing that portion. And I know that I'm somebody who wants like a full picture. And like, if I had known the full picture, which is why I apologized, like, about the fact that I had not gotten a bigger picture. I thought I had the full picture. I didn't get a bigger picture. I would have said, so there's a case going on with a man who is on death row that according to the Innocence Project has an insurmountable amount of evidence to prove his innocence. And this is something that they are working very hard to get people to write letters in to encourage the governor to stay his execution based on his innocence in this case. Now, he also has these other cases going on that you should look at, because the question isn't whether or not this person is innocent in general, but particularly innocent in this case. And I think that, especially as a woman, the same way I said, like, everybody enters into the conversation in different ways. Like, as a woman, I would 1000% have a different proximity to a different proximity to a case involving violence against women that
Yes.
some may not.
Yes, because let's throw out some statistics. 1 in 4 women are susceptible to be raped, and that is not okay. And so when you see that
The cases also weren't tried.
Exactly, they were tried. But here's the thing, like, it's very valid to want all of that extra information, and we should get all of that extra information. But when time is of the essence, I think that the main issue was let's stop the death row problem.
Okay.
Like, let's stop him from being killed, and then after that we'll put out information about all the other claims against him. So
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do you think there was so you feel like it wasn't just it wasn't just a conversation about staying the execution, it was about it should be stayed because he's innocent?
That's why the Innocence Project will bring it up, because they 100% believe that the people that they work for are innocent. They're not going to take a case. Like, for example, if someone's like, well, I got too much time, so take my case to help me get less time. The Innocence Project will not take their case at all.
Okay.
Like, we're not going to help you get less time. There are other organizations that will try to do that. Mm-hmm. But the Innocence Project was advocating for him to get off of the death penalty because they believe he was completely innocent in that case. Now, this stuff takes so incredibly long. He could end up being on trial for the other cases if there's no statute of limitations. Usually, I don't think in murder cases there's statute of limitations, but rape cases there might be. So
yeah, I think in different places too.
Yeah, but those aren't this particular campaign. Now, somebody could start another campaign like, hey, try Rodney Reed again for these other possible rapes, but nobody started that. Nobody started that conversation until you did just now. They have to be separated though because of the time issue. I do think we need the information, but I think that it needed to be separated for the simple fact that there was not enough time to give everybody everything, and then people would have conflated it with the death penalty case with the other rape cases. They would have put them all together and been like, well, no, we're not going to support it because he deserves it, So I think that the Innocence Project is working really hard, but their PR team was like, all right, we got to push this forward a little bit faster and get people to rally behind us because, they have a small office. It's hard for them to do it all by themselves. They need people power,
Right. Well, you are people power. Thank you for educating. Thank you for educating all of us
Thank you.
about the Innocence Project and giving me some more insight into the work that they do. And but I do hope that you understand, like, that the word attack is a yeah. We be using that word hella loose these days. Like, we be like, if somebody literally says anything saying like, I didn't like this, people are like, you're attacking me.
You're attacked.
I'm attacked. And I think that it's really important to note though that just like you said, like they need people power. Mm-hmm. Like, it's fair for the people who are powering them to be like, hey, I ain't like that.
I want more. Yeah. Okay. So I think that a lot of people on here are really interested in criminal justice and they're really interested in the system. I hope that they go out and seek knowledge of the criminal justice system in general, whether it be through law school or through some sort of neighborhood law program. We put it on out here in San Diego through our Black Lawyers Association. We put on a neighborhood law program where we teach people about criminal justice, and like 5 people come. But then we got thousands of people who are extra concerned. So right. Look for your Black Lawyers Associations. Look for the events that they put on. They have brilliant speakers, brilliant minds coming together to talk about these issues, and not a lot of people show up. So we're here to continue this conversation. You know what I mean? Like, after this is over with, this kind of conversation will continue with the Black Lawyers Association, with the NAACP, at actual events that they host. All you gotta do is Google it. Like,
all you gotta do is Google it.
So
right.
let's keep it going. Let's keep the conversation going and look for more knowledge on the criminal justice system as a whole. Go to law school, people. Only 3% of attorneys in the United States are Black.
Say that one more time.
Only 3% of attorneys, 3 to 4% of attorneys in the United States are Black. That's not a lot.
Only 3%.
Yes, it
All
breaks
right.
my heart. I'm like, sometimes I feel like I'm in this by myself. I go to events and I go to work, and it's just me and a white judge and white attorneys. Right. You know what I mean? So
I think there's something to be said too for just like the fact that, like, it's kind of like with entertainment, like people only think about being in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't think about all the different positions you can play in justice, in criminal justice. You know, it's not just being a lawyer, or not just being, like, there's so many different types of law to do. Like, there's so many different, even if, like, you're like, damn, I'm not a law school kind of mofo. It's like, like, you could be a paralegal. Like, yes. You know, like, I have a friend who's a social worker, but she got a JD. So she is able to, she works in a law office, you know, right. And she's able to be so helpful on a lot of cases that a lot of times, like, if they had somebody that didn't have her entry into the culture, like they didn't have, like, her ethnic, you know, awareness, things would have went a whole other way. Like, one time she had a case where she was like, yo, somebody came in and he was just talking, and they kept saying, like, we don't know what he's talking about. We think he's in a gang, like, all this stuff. And when she was, like, brought into the deposition, she was like, oh, no, he's a 5%er. No, this is, because he kept saying, like, the gods and the earths and, you know, wisdom, power. And they, like, didn't know. And he kept saying, like, it revolves around science. And they were like, we don't know what he's talking about. Like, he sounds crazy. He sounds like he's a part of a cult. And she was like, oh, no. But it was her proximity to the culture and her ability to be able to bring in a different perspective that helped save this man's life, and his ability to move, because they would have definitely sent him down a road out of their ignorance versus his own. And so thank you for the work you're doing, Octavia.
Thank you for bringing me in and just, like, having good dialogue instead of being like, I know already you're not a confrontational person. You're not, like, going to attack me. No. But I love the fact that we had open dialogue and that people here at least heard our message together. I feel like it makes us stronger, and hopefully people here who are, like, straight up trolling, they just go get a life. It's like not that serious for you to put clowns that many times.
Oh, baby, clowns. I'm a disgrace to the Black community. I'm all the things, honey. But you know what? Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Your book is coming in the mail for me soon. I'm sorry I didn't get it beforehand, but I am a law student, so I had to make it do what it do.
You don't even have time to read my book. Wait, I do. Why did my mother literally just sent me a text this second that says about an article, how to become a lawyer without going to law school.
Oh,
literally just sent me that text.
You can do that. You can do it. You definitely could. It's a hard work still, because you still got to pass the bar, but Kim Kardashian is trying to.
Okay, you still got to pass the bar.
Message me if you want more information. I don't know.
Girl, but I always tell people, like, I'm an artist. Like, I don't call myself an activist. I definitely would never call myself an organizer, because that is work that people are doing that is so difficult and should be heralded. I'm an artist that has concerns about our community, and I'm an academic.
That's so important. That's so important.
You know, I will never take, I try to use my art to activate. You know, I've been in places where people will call me an activist, and I'm just like, that you said it, I didn't say it, you said it. Because I just think that's a specific directive that I, you know, am not waking up every day to assign myself to. You know, like, I simply just want to have difficult conversations when necessary, fun conversations when necessary, and bring intellectualism into like real spaces where a lot of people aren't necessarily applying it. So thank you for
So
bringing that into this.
you're Black Frida Kahlo, basically. Exactly.
I'll take it.
Like
I'll take it.
I go to sleep at night, and just before I go to sleep, I turn on your podcast. There's a couple specific ones that I listen to over and over again because it empowers activists like me, and it empowers us to be creative and think outside of the box about how we want to approach issues. I'm listening to your small doses for the creative process. I want to write a book. I want to do that stuff. I've gotten a full ride to undergrad and a full ride to law.
You better talk about your full ride.
And I want to write a book about it to teach other people how they can go to school without acquiring debt. Like, I know how to do it. I know how to help people.
Are you from Baltimore?
No, I'm from Michigan originally, but I live in California.
Well, thank you. I want to give some other people a chance to before it cuts off. But thank you for all of your input and good luck with everything. And I'm really happy to see that of the 3% of Black folks in law, you're one of them. So keep on going.
My heart, that made my day.
Have a nice day. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. All right, I don't know how to do.
She said, "Do." You know, that's that. Anybody who watched The Wire, do. You know, it's like ingrained in our brains. Do. I think we have time for one more. I'm not sure because I don't know how long we've been on. All right, let's see. Let's get a brother. Well, what looks like a brother. I don't know. You got a Nas. You got my favorite Nas album in your name. So.
Whoa, this is crazy.
Happening.
This is crazy as shit.
Why are both brothers like on the move? The other brother we had, same thing. He was just like, I'm in the world. What's up? Okay, so wait, what brings you to the live?
You said what?
What brought you into the live conversation today? Because
oh shit, damn. Okay.
You know we're in the midst of a whole conversation.
I know, and that's why I'm here. I came here to have a discussion.
Okay.
My heart beating fast. I like
What's
that.
your name?
Merk.
Your name is Merk?
Yeah. So
Merkin folks. Okay.
Yeah, that's the past. I'm a changed man. I'm growing. Because I got like a lot of thoughts in my head. So
okay,
I appreciated Octavia first that was on. I feel like she's the people that we talk about when you talk about when you speak about small doses and how we are able to have conversations where you can agree to disagree, where you can point out facts, and everything is not an attack. Opinions can be shared, because I mean, I am a frequent listener to you, and I understand that, I mean, that we are in an age of information overload. And
absolutely.
So with that being understood, there's a lot of platforms, there's a lot of websites, there's a lot of blogs, there's a lot of everything that we take information on, and it's up to that individual based off of our experiences, Black, not everything, that we process it different. Mm-hmm. I understand in mistakes, I understand in, sharing how you feel when you're passionate about something, because one of my problems is a lot of people come to me, Merk, oh my God, you're so aggressive. You're so aggressive. I'm like, I'm not. I'm really just passionate about it, because not only is it a cycle, but there's a lot of propaganda out here that people share their information and their opinions based off of the information that we are force-fed every day. And a lot of motherfuckers think it's fact.
Yeah.
So I didn't come on here to like debate with you, because I've been reading the comments and I've been like, damn, they like going in. Like,
baby, all the time. People have no class.
They like going in, but my thing is, even if it was a mistake, even if there was something that needed to be corrected in the clause, like, damn, I mean, we're all people. That's what this platform is for. Whether you have 300 followers or 30,000 followers, like, say your opinion, say what you believe, say where you received your information, and keep it moving.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, this internet thing has made it to where kind of like everybody gets to have an opinion on things. And I've had people say, like, in a case of this gravity, opinion doesn't matter. Well, the doozy of this is that if you're asking folks to lend their name or lend their likeness, their platform, et cetera, it's, for what it's worth, it ends up being like their opinion on how they receive the facts. Like, because to your point, like, and we live in a time where like facts have become almost subjective to people. You know, and so if you're only getting a certain amount of facts, then it kind of just ends up becoming it ends up becoming where like the facts that are being delivered is presented based on opinion. That being said, thank you. You know, I love how there's people in the comments right now. They're like, she's only clicking on her fans. And it's like, I don't know if you're my fan.
No, listen. Whether I'm a fan or not, if I disagree with something, I don't bite my tongue. But I think, one, I'm all about, sometimes I don't process information fast. And sometimes you kind of got to break things down to like the bare minimum for me. I think one of the questions, and I could be wrong, but one of the questions that everybody wants to know is, at this present moment, would you like to retract anything that you stated initially when in terms of like one of the girls being murdered or something? I think one of them is alive. Like, I think what the people are looking for, like, is,
well, he was tried for rape and murder of a girl in Wichita, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And he was exonerated. So what are we talking about?
Just okay. There were two girls, and I think because
there's
Shaun King just posted.
So there's two more women.
He just
posted. The reality is this. This person has been attached to several instances of accusation of rape.
Uh-huh.
And there are women who are still alive and able to ID him. We've seen other scenarios where, like, people with less evidence are considered a problem for having accusations of rape attached to them. People with less numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's not about apologizing for or retracting for, because the point that I was making was that I felt like there was a lot of other pertinent information attached to this individual's existence and in relation to this case that was not presented. And I think, for what it's worth, and Octavia made a good point in saying this, she was saying, like, well, I think that people, because the time was coming so close for the possible execution, or for the actual execution, that there was going to be a push for just the immediate stuff that they felt people needed to know, right? Which was about this particular case. You know, so because the time was so close, they just wanted people to know that in the case of this particular case, that they feel wholeheartedly that he is innocent. Now, I'm not the only one, but I think there's other people who have looked at the information provided by the Innocence Project, the information provided by other sources, and still don't feel confident that he could be innocent. And so I think that's where opinion comes in.
Okay.
Because a lot of the stuff, there may be facts in terms of, like, there was DNA on this beer can. This was not tested for DNA. This person, like, she would have not had to take in a shower. Like, you know, there's no video, so it's not like it's as conclusive as I think some people might consider it to be. So I think some people need less evidence to feel sure of someone's innocence, and some people need more. And I think that's the reality.
I agree with you, but how, and like I said, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you.
Go for it.
I appreciate you for sharing the information. I appreciate you for challenging us to do the research. But how is it, just because I don't know nothing about the Innocence Project or whatever, I'm not educated on those things, but it's somewhat coming off as if that you're saying, well, just let the nigga be there and get the death penalty. You know what I'm saying? Let him do what he got to do. And I know you're not saying that, because I'm not,
I literally didn't say that, though.
You didn't
in
say
my
that.
video, I literally didn't say that.
No, you didn't say that.
In my video, I literally said he should not be. In my video, I literally said, like, my proximity to the death penalty is that if, I don't really have a strong opinion on it, like, either way, as far as if someone is completely guilty, or like, in the ethical sense, I don't feel like any of us should be determining like who dies in that way, because I feel like, especially in the state of Texas, they just be killing motherfuckers at will anyway. They're very, especially Black lives, So I think that there's so many layers to the conversation, that it's like,
Exactly. And see,
there's
that's
so many
what
layers
I'm
to that
saying.
conversation. So,
Because
but my
there's so
point
many
in my
layers.
video was, I felt like this was vital information that, had I been the one at the helm of presenting it to people, of presenting this case to people, I would have felt like it's important to include it. And the fact that it was not included made me feel like I was supporting someone in a way that I wouldn't have. Like, I would have said, like, educate yourselves on this case and see if you want to support it.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Because if he is possibly innocent, then he should not even be in the mix of of lethal injection. But I'm just saying that I would have presented it differently than I had, because the way that I was behind it, because I'm like, nah, fuck that. They should not kill this nigga if he didn't do it, Yeah. And I wouldn't have I would have managed my presentation and my alignment to it very differently had I known more. And what I've seen is that there's a lot of people who also felt the same way. That, like, had they known that off top,
these comments are trash, dude.
Oh yeah, the comments. I don't even look at the comments.
Damn.
You can't even talk to me because you're so distracted
by the
wildness of the comments, and I don't blame you.
No, because listen, the reason that I make this, not that you have to give a shit about what anybody else thinks in the first place. I have asked myself, I'm like, okay, well, if the woman went on there and gave her opinion, gave her recent findings, why all of this? Why not? And maybe it's a part of me that's naive, that's expecting someone to say, well, you know what, Amanda, why do you feel like that? Where is the information coming from? Where is the work cited? Like, what is this about? Because this has been a hot topic. We all signed the petition. I signed the petition. And I mean, I wish I would have knew more about it, but I didn't take the time to do my research. And because I didn't take that time, I'm not going to be like, fuck you, Amanda. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say, you know what? Let me pull up Google. I'll even DM Shaun King. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let me just take my own 5 minutes that I'm taking to comment to you. Let me take my own 5 minutes to do the information, to research the information myself.
Well, I think that's like super dope, and I think that's very responsible of you, because I think that's the work we all got to do, and that's why I was so mad at myself, and that's why I apologize, because we're all in our own movie.